All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking what was easily one of the most dramatic, earth-shattering, and, honestly, deeply emotional tournaments in modern football history, the 2026 FIFA World Cup. We're going to look at its historic conclusion, dig into some mind-blowing data, and talk about why this specific World Cup really felt like the closing chapter for a whole generation of absolute legends. You know, it was a month of undeniable triumph, bitter tears, and literally the end of an era.
And nothing captures the crazy duality of the beautiful game quite like this. On one hand, you've got the literal earth-shaking celebrations of Spain's monumental victory, just a nation erupting in unbridled joy. But then, on the other hand, you have the quiet, immense, devastating pain felt over in Buenos Aires. A World Cup final always leaves us with these two extreme realities. And the 2026 finale in New Jersey? Yeah, it was absolutely no exception.
Section 1. Spain's seismic victory.
So it took 120 minutes of grueling, nail-biting football, right? Capped off by a clinical extra-time strike by Ferran Torres to secure the win for La Roja. But the sheer scale of the aftermath, it was staggering. Over 1 million fans packed into Madrid's Cibeles Square. Just picture it, a massive sea of red and yellow under a blazing summer sun. This wasn't just a party, it was a massive national event to welcome home the guys who had just secured Spain's second-ever World Cup title.
And here's where it gets wild. This celebration wasn't just loud, it literally shook the earth. No, seriously. Researchers from the Geosciences Barcelona Center actually analyzed data from seismometers across Spain, and they picked up clear bursts of activity when Torres scored, and then again at the final whistle. The scientists called it induced seismicity. Basically, many earthquakes caused entirely by hundreds of thousands of fans jumping and screaming at the exact same time across Madrid and Barcelona. I mean, how crazy is that?
So all that chaotic street energy eventually funneled into the official celebrations. After touching down and getting the formal reception from the king and the prime minister, the players hopped on an open-top bus, plastered with the words, "Kings of the World." They paraded that gleaming trophy, complete with their new second World Cup star, through a crowd of just absolute adoration in the Spanish capital.
I actually love this quote from Spain's captain Rodri because it hits the nail on the head when bridging the gap between eras. He said, "This generation grew up watching Casillas and Iniesta lift the cup, and that we can do it today is the biggest thing you can do in football." By pulling this off in 2026, they didn't just win a piece of metal. They inherited a massive legacy and crowned themselves the new kings of global football.
Section 2. Messi's immense pain. Now, switching gears to the deeply personal heartbreak expressed by the Argentine captain himself. Falling just one single match short of back-to-back World Cup titles, Lionel Messi posted on Instagram, "The pain is immense, and it will take time for this wound to heal." Man, you can really feel the weight of an entire nation and a grueling tournament packed right into those words. He made sure to highlight his immense pride in being Argentine, and he did congratulate Spain, but that quiet agony, it was unmistakable. Let's break down how that final actually played out. Argentina's usually dynamic, explosive attack was completely stifled by an incredibly organized Spanish defense. I mean, they managed just one single shot in 120 minutes. But even with the team shut down, you have to look at Messi's individual tournament stats. He still walked away with a spectacular 8 goals and 4 assists, finishing just barely behind Kylian Mbappe for the Golden Boot. Even in defeat, his individual brilliance was just undeniable.
And the contrast is jarring. You compare Madrid's million-person mega-party with Argentina's return, and it was a remarkably subdued homecoming. No media call, no official parade. Actually, clashes even broke out late at night at the obelisk in Buenos Aires. And perhaps most tellingly, Messi didn't even take the flight back to Argentina with the team. He chose to just quietly begin his rest period instead.
Section 3. The retirement question. So naturally, within hours of the final whistle, the internet just exploded. Everyone is asking, is this truly the end of the road for Messi in an Argentina shirt? Well, let's look at the timeline, because history tells us a very specific story here. Back in 2016, he famously retired from international football after a heartbreaking Copa America loss, only to come back. In 2022, he finally wins the World Cup in Qatar. Then in 2026, this devastating heartbreak in New Jersey. So, does this lead to a 2028 Copa America defense? Look, with his track record of bouncing back from the brink, you really cannot write him off just yet.
Plus, there's a very practical reason to keep that door open. Messi recently extended his club contract with Inter Miami in Major League Soccer through the end of the 2028 season. He's going to be 41 years old by then. If he is still out there playing professional club football, the possibility of him suiting up for Argentina in the 2028 Copa America is absolutely a real possibility. Section 4. End of an era. But zooming out from just Messi for a second, we're looking at a massive concentration of generational talent likely taking their final bow. Just listen to this list. Cristiano Ronaldo wrapping up an insane 2-decade World Cup journey. Kevin De Bruyne, the absolute mastermind of the midfield. Manuel Neuer, the guy who completely redefined modern goalkeeping. Luka Modric, the ageless Croatian maestro. And Neymar, Brazil's all-time leading goal scorer. These are guys who won Ballon d'Or and literally defined football for over 15 years. This tournament, it was their swan song on the global stage. And as those legends step aside, a totally new wave is already asserting its dominance. I mean, we are officially in the era of Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland, Jude Bellingham, and Spain's Lamine Yamal. The torch hasn't just been passed, it's been grabbed by a new generation ready to write their own history.
Section 5. Record regional viewership.
So the players on the pitch are changing, right? But so is the audience watching them. Check out this massive metric. 2.1 billion cumulative viewers tuned in across the Middle East and North Africa for the 29 matches featuring Arab teams. 2.1 billion! That is a monumentally significant statistic. It's absolute proof of the surging presence, the passion, and the real market power of the MENA region in global football.
If we break down these matches, it shows exactly where those eyeballs were glued. Egypt reached the round of 16 for the very first time in history, and their epic clash against Argentina, it pulled in a staggering 192.6 million viewers. Their victory over Australia pulled 157.1 million. Meanwhile, Morocco proved their 2022 run was definitely no fluke by reaching back-to-back quarterfinals, drawing over 151 million viewers for their showdown with France. I mean, these numbers are just colossal.
But if you really want to grasp what those numbers mean on the ground, just look at this one figure, 94%. That is the percentage of Egypt's entire adult population that tuned in to watch their national team push the reigning champions, Argentina, to the absolute brink in the round of 16. Just think about that. 94% of an entire country completely united by a single football match.
And we can't forget the logistics of this tournament. With the games in North America, matches were kicking off at 1, 4, and 6 a.m. Mecca time. Yet, broadcasters reported over 100 million pre-dawn viewers on average. Waking up in the middle of the night, or, just never going to sleep at all, it proved that for this fan base, distance and time zones were absolutely no barrier to their passion.
Which brings us to the future. In 2030, the World Cup shifts to Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. After a tournament that literally shook the earth in Madrid, broke a nation's heart in Buenos Aires, saw legends bow out, and shattered viewership records across the Arab world, we've got to ask, can 2030 possibly match the drama, the shifting tides, and the heartbreak of 2026? It's a fascinating thought to leave you with. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and keep your eyes on the beautiful game.